masonry block piers that have been filled with a grout. These piers look like they've been affected by movement of soils underneath them. So they're tilted. There's gaps as much as an inch underneath some of the posts. So there's some significant movement related to the foundation in the front portion of the house. Likely related to the sloping of the floors. What I'm going to recommend in the front portion of the house is to not necessarily remove and replace, but add new concrete foundation posts and piers in the front portion of the house, and do away with the old masonry piers. I don't think those are performing very well at this time. Obviously the gaps will do all new posts throughout, so it will solidify the foundation in its current condition so that you won't have any movement moving forward, because obviously the walls have been patched and painted. The doors there's some issues with the doors, but not significant. We don't want to try and go underneath there and try and do a significant amount of re-leveling, because it's going to cause distress to the inside of the home. So what I recommend is going underneath there and doing new posts and piers adjacent to the original existing.
Okay.
Now in the new foundation wall, so there's a new front wall, a new west wall, which obviously there's reports on talking about being stabilized and whatnot, and the master bedroom addition at the rear. There are some cracks about an 1/8 inch wide in places. In my opinion, those cracks are small enough where they're insignificant. There are 2 cracks in the southwest corner of the master bedroom. So that's the back bedroom down by the steepest part of the rear slope. And the cracks have a little bit of a taper, and there's some shimming underneath the wood framing. So I do think that at some point in time that corner has experienced some settlement. So what I'm going to recommend is to go underneath there and put plates across the cracks and fill the voids. Instead of using the wood shimming, use a concrete grout underneath the sill plates to basically solidify it in place so that no further settlement can happen. Let me try and think of what else is going on. So you got 2 cracks in the walls that I'm going to recommend plates for, and I'm going to recommend new posts and piers in the front portion. That's pretty much the majority of what's going on. I wasn't able to get all the way in the front of the crawl space. When they did the addition, they broke the existing walls and they left all the concrete debris in the crawl space. So I wasn't able to get all the way up there because it's just covered with huge chunks of concrete. So I was able to get close enough to see that there's some stuff going on. The stuff is insignificant at this point, at least in that front wall. The front portion of the crawl space on the interior, we're going to talk about new posts and piers, some crack repair back here in the southwest corner of the master bedroom. Pretty much other than that, there's on the girder ends, there is some, they used hangers, like metal hangers on the girder ends to fasten them to the bottom of the floors. They haven't been fastened properly, so there's only a couple of nails in them. They don't look like they're performing to the best of their ability. When we go in there and add new posts and piers, I'm going to recommend supporting the ends of the girders with new posts and piers as well. Because if one of those hangers ever gets corroded, one nail on either side of the girder isn't enough to support the weight of the house. So I'm going to recommend improved support on the girder ends. So that's pretty much everything I can remember at this point. I crawl around and I do everything. I voice record myself in the crawl space on a voice recorder. So if I forgot something, I will absolutely include it in the report. Obviously, those are the main points and the main repairs. If I was to put now again, I don't do cost estimates. If I was to put a price tag on the repairs, I would say you're in the ballpark of $5,000 to $10,000. I know that's a big window. You're likely closer to the 5 than the 10, but the problem is it's going to be somewhat labor intensive to get around in that crawl space with all the debris in there. But you're looking at some repairs to the front portion of the crawl space, and obviously some crack repairs in that master bedroom is the main stuff.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Keep going. No, what were you going to say?
I'm saying pretty much that's it in terms of what's going on. I think all of those play a role in the way that the floors slope. I do think that there is evidence of either settlement of the piers or expansive soils underneath the piers, if not both. Obviously, the gaps between some of the posts that I noticed, there's gaps as much as 1 inch under there. Obviously, that's settlement. There's a couple of areas where the tops of the piers are tilted. That's obviously expansive soil. So you have a little bit of both going on, which I think is why the floors are high in the middle and low on the outsides and whatnot. There is a probability of re-leveling the floors to a certain extent. In a house of this age, it gets kind of tricky because the wood frame floors kind of have a memory. So if you try and move pieces around, sometimes you lift it off of other pieces and it really just holds its current condition of the floors, and you just lift it up or down. So I don't know how much improvement you can get in the floors by having a contractor go into there and re-level the floors, but it could be a possibility if that's something you're interested in. Do keep in mind, if you do try and do some re-leveling, you may see cracks in the walls. Now, some of the doors might come back square again, but you might see some cracking of the walls and ceilings. So bear that in mind. Again, that's more of a cosmetic thing, not necessarily a structural issue. That's more of the aesthetics. If you want the dome in the center of the floors to come out, that's again, a cosmetic thing. You could likely even do that with a good flooring contractor can come in here and might be able to shim the floors and not necessarily have to do any re-leveling of the foundation. So a couple of options on that note, but there are a few structural repairs that I am going to recommend, so look for that in the report. Again, all in all, the walls themselves look rather intact. Again, they're somewhat recently replaced, and there's just 2 cracks that I'm going to talk about plating and repairing. Other than that, it's not all that bad.
And can you, what was it? I guess I got a lot of questions, but
Okay, go ahead.
if we do these repairs, I apologize about the noise.
That's okay.
In the PA here. If we do the repairs, would we have would these repairs withstand earthquakes? And then the other thing too is, I know you can't say what the future holds, we don't know what the ground underneath is like, but given the history of the foundation issues, are there things that they should have done in 2000 whatever to repair it that could have prevented this? Or are we likely looking at, we do these repairs now and then it's good forever? Or are we looking at, every 10 years there's likely going to need some repair to be done on the foundation?
So when I recommend my repairs, I definitely am not recommending a Band-Aid type repair. When I recommend my repairs, I intend them to be permanent. Again, if there is some sort of future movement, that's obviously I'm looking at everything from its current condition as of right now. It's hard to tell what the future holds, but again, like I said, when I recommend my repairs and I put plates on the cracks, and I'm going to talk about new posts and piers, the modern construction standards that we use today should make this house. Now, if the house had the same exact pass as it did, you have major repairs underneath this west side, which I think are performing okay. And when we do plates and new posts and piers, I intend them to be permanent and not have to be a 10-year maintenance item or anything like that. The main point is, now around the perimeter, they have somewhat new walls, and even the existing portions of the walls have bolts and anchoring systems to the perimeter foundations. So in terms of seismic and earthquake resistance, you do have, I wouldn't say modern, but you do have some resistance to seismic in the walls currently. The interior posts and piers are not designed to resist anything seismic. So when I'm talking about new posts and piers or crack repair, those aren't going to do anything to strengthen the home in terms of an earthquake. Basically, the crack repairs that I'm going to recommend are going to stop the further movement of the corner of that foundation wall. And the posts and piers that I recommend are going to reintroduce the support that the floor framing needs in those areas. When I'm talking about the movement, the gaps, and the tilting of the piers, that's a soils issue, and the reason that happens is from drainage problems. So in order to not have a 10-year maintenance item, drainage is very important on this side of the house. Where I see it the most is obviously the east side of the house. That side of the house has somewhat been neglected compared to the rest. The soil over there slopes towards the house, so I'm going to recommend that we do something in terms of drainage over there, just so that we can keep the moisture out of the crawl space, which may affect the posts and piers that we would be installing.
That's on the west side you're talking?
I'm considering the house faces north.
Okay.
So that would be the east side.
East side, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Armando was here yesterday, our general inspector.
Okay.
He said he thought he saw drainage on this east side of the house.
Okay.
He said he just didn't know where it went to.
I'm going to have to go look at that again because I did not notice the drainage when I walked over there. What I did notice was that the soil slopes towards the foundation. Obviously, it goes downhill from east to west or front to rear.
Yep.
So any water that does land on that side of the house is going to travel through your crawl space to get downhill. Which, if that's the case, that could be what's causing the unlevelness of the floors or the foundation issues that we are now repairing at this point in time. So again, to just as general homeowner maintenance, if you have good drainage around the perimeter of the house and we do these repairs, you shouldn't have a problem moving forward. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does answer my question. And then in that, let's say that $5,000 to $10,000 range.
Yes.
That just includes the repairs to the foundation. That doesn't include any drainage stuff, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. And do you have any? Is that we looking at another $5 to $10 grand?
Well, possibly. Again, I gotta go. Well, I need to go over there and look and see if there's active drainage. If there's active drainage there, then obviously we want to test it and inspect it. And it may just be a minor cost to regrade and clear the vegetation and make sure that those drains are actively working. And go from there. If there's no drainage over there, then yes, we're going to have to talk about some drainage improvements on that side of the house. At a minimum, regrading so the water doesn't pond next to the foundation. If not adding drains along that side of the house. That could be, now again, I don't know how much drainage repairs typically cost. I have a good idea on foundation repairs, but drainage, depending on who you hire, if you hire just a regular landscaper, it could be cheap. The foundation contractors I'm going to recommend to you for these repairs, they do also do drainage, but again, they're specialists, so they're somewhat expensive when it comes to doing any sort of drainage repairs. What I do also offer, just to give you further peace of mind, to make sure that everything's in good shape after the repairs are completed, is I offer to come back and certify the repairs. In today's report, I'm going to talk about what should be done and how to properly do them. And if you go forward and buy the house and do the repairs, I would come back at a later date once it's all finished and crawl the crawl space again and say, yep, they put that in the right place and they did this in the right place and everything is as it should be, and write you a certification letter.
Okay. And then does that, is there another fee? Is it another $650 for you to come out and certify?
No, it wouldn't be $650. In a case like this, on the repairs I'm recommending, it would be $250.
Okay. All right.
So other than that, I think that's pretty much it that I have on my notes. I think we kind of covered the old stuff earlier in the week in terms of the interior. Like I said, the interior's in good shape, minus the sloping of the floors. I think that's why we should just stabilize the home in its current condition and be very cautious of the re-leveling. Because again, we don't want to come through here and cause cracking of the walls and ceilings and necessarily put the house back under distress just to fix the flooring. I think that might be.
If you want level floors, you would recommend doing it on the floor level.
I would definitely get a flooring contractor and consider that option. Yes.
Okay.
Again, if that's not a possibility and you want the floors leveled during the foundation repairs, that would be the time to do it. So I don't recommend having the floors fixed, then getting a flooring guy, and then saying, well, the flooring guy can't do it. Let's get the foundation guy back out here to re-level it, because that's a lot of work. So I would say if you're going to re-level it with the foundation, do it during the foundation repairs.
Okay.
Other than that, do you have any other questions for me? Do you guys have questions?
No, just the drainage. That was my
Just the
only...
drainage, and I'm going to look at that as soon as we hang up here. I'm going to walk that real quick and figure out what I can tell is going on over there.
Okay. All right. I guess I think I had some other question. We talked about it yesterday, but
And I know that's a lot of information to take in over the phone. I do send out a report via email this afternoon. It's going to talk about everything everything that we've talked about so far. It's going to include what the other engineer said about the report back in 2000 and 2004, what I see going on now, and kind of its role and what we're seeing in the superstructure. And obviously the repairs will be included in that report as well. If you get that and you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to give me a call. Just to remind you, I am on